Desert Radio.
The project where those houses are is a project which has not yet reached practical completion.
I get the feeling someone somewhere is not patient enough.
We are going to occupy those houses. Now, the government has two options here. It's either going to be a peaceful occupation or it's going to be forceful.
Why should I be concerned then? The police have many cases which they are investigating.
We have responded accordingly, and I don't know why. The same newspaper, the Namibian, called me.
Government have availed 142 million for the Independence Stadium as well as other infrastructures that they want to develop.
Desert Radio
95.3.
The bold voice.
I think it's a set state of reality that the very youth institution that is supposed to champion the youth agenda, that is supposed to address the obstacles that are facing young Namibian, is embroiled into internal fights. I think obviously in a country as a whole we have a leadership crisis, number one, and number two, this speaks to the fact that individuals that are occupying positions of power do not understand why they hold those positions, number one, and they also do not understand, or they do not have an understanding of what they are supposed to be doing because they occupy those positions. I think the NYC was obviously established to address opportunities and obstacles facing young people in Namibia. It was also established to be the connector between government and the young people, to sort of bring young people closer to government, and not only that, to also transform the economy where young people are the center of economic growth and job creation. That is the main aim of the NYC. But I think for the past years, we have seen that the whole institution as a whole has been politicized. If you have seen the individuals that are occupying those strategic positions in the NYC, they are from the ruling party, and we know that. And they've sort of used that position as a stepping stone to elevate to parliament or to occupy other strategic positions within government. And this is why we have so much infights. This is why we have so much politics within the institution, because individuals are just there to serve their interests, but they are not really there to champion the youth agenda, number one. They are not there to transform the material conditions of young people. I think NYC should be one of the institutions in Namibia that was supposed to have a strategic plan of how they are going to transform the social status of young people in Namibia. We have seen that they have really invested in a lot of green schemes around the country, but as we speak right now, those green schemes are not operational. Why? Because number one, there was no specific class agenda on how those green schemes should be operated and how young people should be, and young people will be transformed as a result of those green schemes. That is one. Number two, mainly because our people do not really care about really serving young people in this country, but they just come up with programs to sort of appear as a window dressing that young people's issues are being addressed, but it's not. And I think the very last point before I give an opportunity to my counterpart is the issue of inclusivity. I think we have seen that a lot of NYC programs do not really reach young people in rural as well as peri-urban areas. A lot of young people do not even know that we have an institution such as NYC that is supposed to champion the youth agenda. A lot of young people are excluded from all activities that happen around the NYC. So I think as an institution, it has lost its mandate, it has lost its vision and mission, and perhaps it's time that we sort of absorb the whole institution, and then it perhaps should be interrogated back into the Ministry of Youth and Sports. Perhaps that is one thing that we need to look at. But I think overall, as young people, we are really, really disappointed in the conduct, whether it's from the executive side or whether it's from the board side, because we have seen a lot of speculations going through that. And our worry is that are young people's issues in this country ever going to be addressed if we have individuals that do not understand the mandate and they do not understand the power that they possess?
We just have to note that we did try and reach out to various other political parties and their youth wings, including those of Dudo, including those of SWAPO, to come through and join us on this discussion. We did that to no avail. Kueekuje, perhaps just from your side, you are from the SWANU Youth League, but you do represent your party on the Representative Council of the NYC, so you're quite close to what is happening right there. Just unpack the apparent mess that's happening at the NYC.
Yes. Thank you very much, John Collins. Now, what one can take from what's happening at the NYC now is the fact that the institution has been politicized. The director and the executive chairperson of the board, so to say, are at loggerheads. And they are now trying to absorb the affiliates and the members of the National Youth Council or the Representative Council meeting to fight their battles on their behalf. It's indeed true that we were to convene our 9th Representative Council in Ondangwa. That was between the 15th to the 16th, after a year of not having a Representative Council meeting, which is supposed to take place annually. And we failed to have one last year. At this meeting, we realized that just upon arrival, the meeting was official, was opened by the governor of the Oshikoto region.
Oshana region.
Yes, Oshikoto region. So after they opened the meeting, we realized that the minister did not come herself to the meeting to officiate, as has been the tradition of the meeting. She did not delegate her deputy or any staff member, or at least prepare a speech to be read on her behalf at the meeting. And that raised questions because there were rumors, speculating around that the minister is on the side of the director. After the opening of the meeting, we crossed to the closed session in which we were supposed to have our meeting. And just for us to realize that at that very juncture, the minutes of the meeting are not available. After long deliberations and questioning, we gave the director and the board, we adjourned around 6 o'clock, I believe, on that very day. The program was supposed to end at 8. We gave the board and the director those hours to complete our minutes, reflecting the true reflections of what happened in Ondangwa, because we gave directions and we took resolutions that had an influence on the agenda that we were supposed to discuss in Ondangwa. The very following day, we opened the meeting and we realized that the director and the board has not produced the minute yet. Now, as per the Act, it is evident that the secretary to the Representative Council is the director. However, rumor has it that the director has been stripped of her power, and such power is now vested with an executive chairperson secretary who is a certain Mr. Livius. He did not get to determine why such things happen or whether that is a true allegation or not, because the meeting was ambushed. The chairperson of the Representative Council, the exact terms he used in that meeting was that he suspended the meeting. And we were hoping that because on the agenda point there is a or dissolving of the meeting, he's going to suspend it until a later stage so that we can come back and engage. Just to realize that he's saying that the meeting is not going to go further. So what one can say is, just to add on to what my colleague Duminga Ndala said, that there is really a leadership vacuum. There is lack of sensitivity within the leadership, that being from the director, from the board, from the RCA chairperson, and with the speculations going around the minister as well. So that is what I can brief for now.
All right, and I want you to listen carefully to the question that I'm about to pose to Duminga Kueekuje, because I'm about to ask that question to you as well. Duminga, you referenced that there might be some young people in this country that don't even know what the National Youth Council is. Just from where you are standing and what you've noticed at the very least for the past 3 to 4 years or so, what has the National Youth Council actually done to champion the youth agenda?
I think that is a very interesting question and very relevant question. In my view, perhaps they have sort of done a few programs here, a few meetings here, but I think we need to look, was those meetings and programs very impactful? I don't think so. I think the other time I was caught into fires because the NYC had sort of organized what they called this slut night. Apparently it was sort of to create awareness around shaming women and slandering women. Perhaps a very good concept, but is it relevant to the social factors that young people are being affected with? Definitely not. I think in terms of them in terms of them reaching out to all young people in the country, they have failed in that regard. Like I said, there's a lot of youth organizations or forums that are not affiliated with the NYC, and because they do not know if such an institution exists. That is one. Number two, we have seen that even in terms of the high unemployment rates in the country, in terms of the high inequality rates among young people in the country, the NYC as an institution has not really pronounced itself on those pertinent matters, number one, and it has also not provided programs on how to sort of reduce the unemployment rate numbers. I think I remember 2 years ago I sort of had an engagement with the executive chairperson of the NYC articulating the program that the Youth Command element came up with as to how young people can be represented in various sectors of the economy. So I think the NYC in that regard has not done that, because if we have to request for the data as to how many young people are represented in strategic positions or sectors of the economy, there is no such data. And the NYC as an institution from their side, it has not championed that cause to say that young people should be represented in all sectors of society, because there is no gender, like I said, there is no class agenda, there is no deliberate policy to really ensure that there is empowerment of young people in this country, there is development of young people in this country. So the NYC as an institution has just been reduced to an institution that of friends, number one, that hold small meetings in various regions as a form to say that there is some sort of plans to champion the youth agenda, but in its entirety they have not done that. And perhaps it's time that we sort of scrutinize the mandate of NYC. It's also time that we sort of have a conversation on how we are going to transform the NYC to be a world-class institution of young people in the country that will be able to change the material conditions of young people within Namibia.
Kueekuje, perhaps your particular thoughts on that. Duminga spoke about how they've not done anything about issues like youth unemployment. There was that issue in 2021 where the National Youth Council spent funds meant for entrepreneurship projects on its General Assembly and restructuring exercise, while at the time and still up till now, local youth continue to cry out for job opportunities. It was about 15 million specifically for youth entrepreneurship projects, in addition to the council's annual budget allocation for that 2019-2020 financial year. Just your thoughts on what this body has done for the youth agenda.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Collins. As Duminga said, you can't take away the fact that there has been programs like the youth leadership program that was headed by Mr. Eleni Henguva, which was sponsored by a certain Frederick Stuffing Foundation. That was a productive program that you can't take away yet. The youth weeks that are being held, they are informative. They inform the youth of what is happening. The youth discuss and deliberate on issues that affect them. But the question is, what is the outcome of those programs? Because in my tribe, they say people do not eat words. So no matter how well structured your strategic plan is, or no matter how fruitful the meeting was, if the output or the outcome of the meeting was not good, was not enforced, then it is the same as if it has not happened at all. Now, with regard to youth unemployment, I remember vividly that there was a certain session in which we called for for the board, because they are accountable to the Representative Council, to advise the minister and for them to advise perhaps the president for the National Youth Council to be run by the youth people, because it belongs to the youth. But what is clear from the executive of the National Youth Council, the director is not a youth. The staff members, some of them are not youth, and it is indeed true that these positions they have qualifications attached. But I doubt that one could really say the youth is not capable or not qualified enough to occupy these positions of their institution, to run their institutions on their own behalf. That is one. Two, there is an issue of the youth grant that has been deliberated on several occasions, which the National Youth Council, being the representative of the majority of the youth, or if not the whole youth in Namibia, taking from the fact that we have regional youth forums that are representing all the regions in the National Youth Council. The constituencies are represented by the national youth, by the regional youth forums, and then we have the affiliates from which other members of society are attached. So the National Youth Council is supposed to drive that agenda of the youth grant, because I do not believe in the saying that the grant will make the youth lazy or will misuse the money. That is how you start training the youth to be responsible and using money wisely. That is by getting them into the institution is how you start training them to be accountable and transparent and to work ethic. That is the only way you can train them. Instead of calling them to meetings which have a political agenda attached, and they eat, they sleep in white blankets, they shower, they go back home, they stay hungry again. There is a lack of empowerment from the National Youth Council, I can say. And another issue, and we have the issue of, we have a business arm called Bridget. One would want to ask the question, how many people has that business arm employed? What are the components of that business arm? How many people have that business arm sponsored? Those are issues that the National Youth Council and the executive and us and SRC are supposed to review and perhaps give a direction on.
We're in conversation this particular morning with Duminga Ndala. She is the leader of the Landless People's Movement Youth Command. We are also joined by Kueekuje, that is Kazapua from the SWANU Youth League. He's also a representative council member on the RC of the NYC. Duminga, perhaps on your side, I spoke to another member of the NYC, of the RC rather, this morning, who called for the complete recall of the director, the executive chairperson, as well as the board, not satisfied at all with the suspension of the director. And then I spoke to Huru Dempers immediately after that, who says, well, look, this thing of replacing members and replacing people, it's a thing we've done before, we've tried it before, it doesn't work. What must happen now is that the structures must speak to themselves and try and fix all this issue before the assembly next year. What do you think is the solution in this regard? Should the NYC remove all its members, or should we take the approach of Uhuru Dempers and people should just introspect?
Well, that is a very critical question. I think, first of all, from our side, the Minister of Sports, of Youth, needs to intervene into this very, very critical situation, because her voice has really, really been silent in this whole matter. That is one. I think we are told that there has been an investigation that is ongoing, and it was sanctioned by the Minister of Youth, and obviously the reports of that investigation will be released in due course. That is one. I think number two, because of what we have had, that the board has actually sanctioned the director to be working without a contract in place. So it means the board has sort of misled all the affiliates that the director indeed had a contract, but the director has no contract. So because of that, both the board needs to be absorb, because they've misled the whole country, they've misled the whole affiliates, and obviously the executive director should also go if the allegations that are around her are true. They need to go, because we need to avoid the institutions to go into shambles, because that's not what we want. I think, and lastly, obviously, we need to reform the whole institution as a whole. It should not be politicized. We need to do away with politics, and we need to ensure that this institution really is transformed in a manner that it empowers young people, number one. Number two, that it champions the youth agenda, like I previously alluded, because obviously this has been an ongoing crisis. Each and every year the board needs to be removed, and that's because we have politicized the whole institution. So going forth, for now, what we need to do is the whole board should go, because they have misled the whole country, and also they do not understand why they were voted into those strategic positions. And secondly, the whole institution needs to be reformed. If there is a need for it to be reintegrated into the Ministry of Education as a department, I think that will cost us a lot of internal fights. That will cost us a lot of money, taxpayer money, that they have been wasting on programs and meetings that have not been impactful. The newspaper just reported now that they used 900,000 just for a 2-day meeting that has not yielded any fruitful results. How do we then explain to young people in the street that we spend 900,000 on a meeting that has not yielded any fruitful result? So there is definitely a leadership crisis, and we need to get away with this as young people in this country, because we need to ensure that institutions that are there to represent young people, that are there to represent the aspiration of young people, they should be in good faith, and we should have confidence in them. If not the case, then what is the use of us having such institutions in place if they are not there to serve the interest of young people in the country?
Kueekuje, from what we understand, there are 3 factions right now within the NYC. There's the one that's in support of the director, that's the other one that's in support of the executive chairperson, and then the one that is in support of, well, just absolutely recalling everyone in the executive structures. That's the director, the executive chairperson, as well as the board. Where do you and your RC stand, as well as your party in SWANU?
Yes. It is, some things are, although not said, are true on their faces. It is indeed true that one could take from the meeting that there is indeed 3 camps. I believe strongly, it was my position that it would be correct if the report should come, or if we could have deliberated on the organizational report, and we could have deliberated on the various reports, including the budget report, and that would inform us on what decision we should take. That decision either being removing the board, removing or recommend making recommendation to the minister to get rid of the director, or whichever decision would have been in the best interest of the institution by that time, because we would have been informed as to the ongoings of the council. We would have been informed on the reports of the council. But then, in the absence of any report, we would fail to make an informed decision. We would make political decisions, as you have already alluded to, that there are already camps in the house. So my position was basically very neutral, just waiting for the report, because without the report, one could not make any informed decision.
There were allegations last year, Kueekuje. It was written out thoroughly last year, accusing the director of many things, corruption allegations, organizational structure, service procurement directives that weren't legally done, appointment of former systems administration as its consultant, the procurement committee meetings that weren't followed the right way. Again, the issue of minutes came up as well. The director taking leave without permission, and being absent from work without permission as well, unfair labor practices and victimizations, etc., etc. I'm sitting with 13 pages of all of that. Did you, as the RC, hear of this last year? And if you did, how did you attempt to hold the executive arm of the National Youth Council accountable?
Now, what? In the beginning, I informed you that last year we did not have a representative council meeting. We had one before last year, which was in Oshuarongo, in which we had the issue of the director's contract, in which we took resolutions pertaining to Bridget. However, the issue of the procurement and all those issues were never brought to us. Now, those issues were brought to us not officially at this representative council because of the issue of the camps you are alluding to. But one should know that...
What does this mean when you say not officially?
This institution is built out of political organization. So therefore, politics will be at play at these institutions. That you cannot take away. But the leading question should be whether we are prepared to have a political maturity, not to play politics that would have a negative influence on an immediate child. Because of the camps that you are alluding to, the camp that is on the side of the board was throwing allegations of all of these allegations you are putting to me now. However, it was our position that such allegations should be made in a representative council meeting. Those allegations should be on black and white, and there should be proof thereof, and then we can take a decision based on those allegations. But our decision will be to recommend to the board to make recommendation to the minister. Because remember, the executive arm of the National Youth Council is answerable to the board, and the board is answerable to the representative council.
8:50 is the time on the clock. We're in conversation with Duminga Ndala and Kueekuje Kazapua this particular morning regarding the ongoings at the National Youth Council. We are going to wind down to our conversation quite shortly, but before we do that, we'll quickly go to the marketplace and pay our bills.
Keeping up your entertainment from January 15th to March 31st, 2024. If you're on GoTV Value, upgrade to GoTV Plus to watch GoTV Max. Already on GoTV Plus? Upgrade to GoTV Max to enjoy GoTV Super. And if you're on GoTV Max, upgrade to GoTV Super to enjoy the best of the best on GoTV Super Plus. Don't wait. Step up your entertainment today. It's on us. GoTV. Love it. T's and C's apply.
It is 8:51. We have about 9 minutes to go before we do shut down Breakfast in the Desert this particular morning. In conversation, as mentioned before, with Duminga Ndala and Kueekuje Kazapua this particular morning. We're unpacking what's going on at the NYC. And Duminga, I'll come to you on that same question that I asked Kueekuje now. I mean, you just referenced that meeting that you did have with the executive chairperson about a year or two ago, and it was publicized. We did see that. We did question you on what you spoke about, but matters around the NYC also, surfacing around that time also. Yes, you might not have an executive, sort of role to play within the NYC, but as a youth leader that represents certain constituents of the country, did you pose questions of concern to the executive chairperson at the time?
Then or now?
Then.
Then, yes, obviously, I think apart from the programs that we were deliberating on, or perhaps the program that the LPM Youth Command element was speaking about, I think we had a lot of questions surrounding the operations of the NYC. I think one of the issues that came out very pertinent was the issue of our affiliation. We are busy with our affiliation, but obviously because, like the speaker said, that the institution is highly politicized, our affiliation, we have been sent from pillar to post. I think that is one of the issues that has been ongoing. And apart from that, I think we did also address issues such as leadership vacuum within the NYC, as to also how we can transform the NYC to really be a world-class institution that represents the aspiration of young people in this country. And I think the meeting ended on a very high note, and I was hoping that the executive director in her operations or in her engagement with the board and all the RCs, they were sort of going to implement and start having conversations on what we have discussed about. But clearly, that was not the issue. But I think overall, perhaps because of the nature of how the institution is in its current form, it's very politicized. We have had a lot of seen that it has a lot of factions within the institution. It really becomes difficult for the operations of the institution to run smoothly and effectively. So perhaps our recommendation would be that let's do away with politics. If we really do want to transform the institution, the NYC, and if we do really want to be in the purview of the mandate and the vision of it, that is one. And secondly, perhaps the board should have an open mind approach, that they should be willing to engage all youth institutions, organizations, youth forums, so that we promote the young people in this country. So I think the issue of NYC, it's not a new issue. This has been ongoing, and I was hoping that the RCs were really going to keep the board as well as the executive director accountable, but it seems like they are also failing in that regard, and perhaps maybe they are not given that opportunity to really express themselves and to really echo what should be done. Perhaps there is no such opportunity, but also they also need to be held accountable because they are also failing the young people in general, and something needs to be done going forth.
On that exact point, Kueekuje, you are part of the representative committee of the NYC. That means you directly represent young people in your constituents out there. Duminga Ndala is saying that perhaps you need to be held accountable as well. How do you respond to that? How do you try not only to hold the executive arm accountable, but yourselves accountable as well for that particular duty that you have?
Yes, Mr. John Collins, it is indeed correct what Mr.
You may go ahead.
Sorry, can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Sorry for that. No, it is indeed true what the comrade said, but one should know that our mandate or our authority is deducted from the Act. You see, the powers and functions of the Representative Council are to advise the board on any matters relating to the activities of the council. That is one. And the second is to review and direct the activities of the executive chairperson and the board. And the list goes on. But then I only want to pause at those two. So we can only carry out our mandate if we are in session. So for us to direct or review the activities of the board and or the executive chairperson, we should be in session. The meeting should be in session. We should be provided with the reports. We should go through the reports, and from those reports, we then give direction to the board, for the board to give direction to the executive of the institution. But in the absence of that, we cannot, our arms are behind our backs. That is why we call that the representative chairperson of Mr. William Kotokeni calls or reconvenes the RC meeting again, because RC did not carry out its mandate at this very meeting. RC did not carry out its mandate at the meeting that was held at Safari, which had only one item, that was to vote the RC chairperson. RC in Sokomoon did not take place, and millions were also wasted the same way money was wasted this time around. So I do concur that we have a responsibility to help the institution. However, as per the Act, our responsibility is only in place when the session has taken place. And the unfortunate part is our Act is very outdated, and I believe I should put this on record. When we were at the General Assembly in Grootfontein, we made recommendations to the elected board then and the executive chairperson to advise or give the minister our inputs on how to to review the act or what needs to be reviewed in the act, the meeting of the Representatives Council, the special meeting there, is to be called only when the two-thirds of the majority of the board is of that opinion, and not us as the Representative Council. And that is very sad. We can't call our own meeting. We wait for the board to convene our meeting or the RC chairperson at such a time that they feel they should call that meeting.
30 seconds for the both of you as we conclude our conversation. Kueekuje, perhaps I'll start with you. The entire country is now looking at the National Youth Council and, not taking young people seriously because they can't even get their own house in order. Perhaps just closing words from your side. I'll give you 30 seconds for that.
There is an urgent need to bring the board and the director to the books. Our responsibility as RC is to review and direct their work. And if they do not give us that opportunity, then they are going against the Act, subsequently, or therefore going against the Constitution of the land. And I do not concur, to say with my colleague in that we should do away with politics. But I believe that we should, because some of us are political institution, and we are seasoned politicians for that matter.
All right, I'll have to cut you there, Kueekuje, just in the interest of time. Duminga, perhaps your final thoughts. Unfortunately, Kueekuje took your 10 seconds, so I'll give you 20 seconds.
I think the report should be released, as in yesterday, so that we know what is really going on and what the recommendations are. And also, there is an urgent need for us to transform the whole institution of NYC for it to sort of start representing really the interest of young people, and so that it becomes operational, because we need to do away with all these internal fights. We are not interested as young people in Namibia. What we are interested in is for young people to be empowered, and so that they are also placed into strategic sectors of the society. Yeah.
Can we conclude our conversation here on the 40-minute run and on Breakfast in the Desert to Duminga Ndala and Kueekuje Kazapua? Thank you so much for your time this morning. We do shut down our show.
Don't miss out on all the conversations on Breakfast in the Desert.
I'm sure everyone's lost for words because all we could do yesterday was just shout and shout and shout and scream.
The brave warriors came on that field with a mission.
From now on, we should not fall back. We should now say, how do we build on this?
Breakfast in the Desert, weekdays, 6 to 9 a.m.